Hey everybody, today I'm going to be making a Mississippi roast in my crock pot. I am, however, going to be starting on the stove, so I have some olive oil in a pan, set it over to the side. I do have about 3 pounds of meat. This is 3.14 pounds of chuck roast. If you don't have a lot of people to feed, or you just need smaller portions, feel free to cut this down into much smaller meat, because as you can see, this is my hand and this is a very large piece of meat. You're going to need some butter, some pepper. A lot of people use the whole peppers, the pepperoni peppers. I like the rings personally myself, that way I don't have to cut them up. You'll need some dill, some paprika, some coconut flour, apple cider vinegar, and mayo, and then any spices you want to be using. I'm going to be using Flavor God's Ranch and Flavor God's Honey Barbecue. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/4 cup of my coconut flour and really spread all over the top of this meat. All I've done so far to it is salt and pepper it. I'm going to do that on both sides of the meat. Then I'm going to heat this pan and I'm going to put the meat into the pan, just because I want to get a nice, almost like a crispy crust, there we go, on the meat before I place her over into the crock pot. So we'll go ahead and get started today. As you guys do this, you're really going to just kind of pat after you spread your spices and your coconut flour across the top of the meat. About half is what I use, again 1/4 cup total, and you're really just going to kind of try and pat it down into the meat, because you want it to stick and you want it to stay. You don't want this, in the pan still really floury. You really want to push it and get it down into the meat as much as possible. So, of course, as always, make sure you really wash your hands well, because you are going to be handling this meat fairly closely when you're flipping it and then also moving it over to the crock pot again. So that looks good for that side. And now I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to flip it over onto the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so once you do that, you want to go ahead and get your oil cooking and hot. You're going to go ahead and place the meat inside. You're going to leave it on either side for about 4 to 5 minutes. So it's going to say 4 to 5 minutes on this side, and then I'm going to flip it over to the other side. The majority of the cooking of this meat is going to be done in the crock pot. I'm only trying to make a thin, crispy crust right now. So while that's cooking for 5 minutes, you want to go ahead and get 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, about a teaspoon or 2 of dill, a teaspoon or 2 of paprika, and then about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar as well. And you're going to mix all of this together. You're also going to take 4 teaspoons of butter and go ahead and put down in the bottom of your crock pot and turn your crock pot on low. And I will log putting 10 peppers in. This obviously is probably not 10 peppers, but put as many peppers as you like. I will log in MyFitnessPal as there being 10 peppers. So once the meat gets nice and crispy, we're going to place it in here on low and we're going to let it cook. Okay, so as you guys see, I do have a nice crispy crust on the outside. So now I'm going to take the meat and all the oil and everything that's in here and go ahead and throw it over in the crock pot. Okay, once our meat is now in the crock pot, over top of the butter and the pepperoni, or mild peppers, banana peppers, anything you guys would like to use, I'm now going to stir this mixture all together. And what I'm going to be doing is, once I get this smooth, I'm going to be putting this on top of the meat, and then the meat is simply going to cook in the crock pot for 8 hours on low. Once it's been done for 8 hours on low, I will pull it out and start shredding it and dividing it into meals. Okay, so we're about at the halfway point, about 4 hours in. I did want to just show you guys kind of what this looks like. It smells amazing. I gotta go grab my daughter, but this is what it's going to look like. You will want to just kind of stir it around so the top part doesn't get dry. Everything stays moist, but other than that, it's good to go for another 4 hours. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, so after 8 hours, we're going to go ahead and pull all of the meat out and put it into a separate pan if you're not serving it immediately. You guys, it's going to literally just be falling apart. It's going to be very, yeah, see, it's going to be very easy to go in and shred this. As you can see, a lot of the peppers kind of got really super wilty. If you want to throw in some extra peppers on top of this and let it sit overnight before you serve it, that's perfectly fine if you really like that flavor. But now what all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with a fork and knife. I don't even know that my knife is needed. And I'm going to shred all this just to make it a shredded type meat. Okay, so here we go. We are now all shredded and this looks perfect. The last thing you want to do is there is going to be quite a bit of juice still down in the bottom. I take quite a bit of this, which also drops up some peppers, and I just kind of drizzle it over the top of my meat just because I'm not serving this right away, and I kind of want to make sure that it stays nice and moist. And then when I do reheat it, that it's not going to get tough or dry or anything like that. So just take some of this liquid, however much you think you're going to need, toss it right over the top to keep everything nice and moist. And if you want extra peppers, like I said, throw those on top too. Other than that, you can put this in the fridge and serve it later, or you can actually put the top on and freeze this and get it out later, and then you can slow bake it whenever you need it. So as you guys can hear my daughter, I need to go see what's going on back there with her dad. As always, follow me on Instagram at Journey to Slim Jim, or subscribe to this YouTube if you want to see more keto-friendly recipes. Bye!